Okay, have we got participants? Oh, we have participants. Hello, I hope everyone can hear me. My name is Chris Hardacre. I'm professor in the University of Manchester and the current director of the UK Catalysis Hub. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this summer conference of the UK Catalysis Hub. Unfortunately, we are still doing it via Zoom. However, I hope this is the last enforced time that we have to do it via Zoom, and maybe the winter conference we can do it as some sort of hybrid event between Zoom and being in person. But anyway, welcome. I hope everyone is okay and safe and well, and enjoying the hot weather. You know, it's amazing stuff. So the UK Catalysis Hub has been going for quite some time. 2013 was when it started. So we've had quite a number of conferences now. I think this is this our 8th conference now? No, 10th conference now. I guess it would be something like that. So we're enjoying hosting these, and we have a great lineup of speakers covering a wide range of catalysis, both engineering and science, theory and experiment, across the remit of the hub. So without further ado, I am going to start the conference by welcoming our first speaker, Dr. Abraham Nieva. He's going to talk about the blueprint for the catalysis data infrastructure. So Abraham, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks everyone for coming. And okay, here is my slides. I hope everyone can see them okay. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the reason for the design of the catalysis data infrastructure as it is now, and what are our plans for the future development and consolidation of this design, so that it can serve as the platform for finding out about research outputs from the UK Catalysis Hub. So we know that work of the Catalysis Hub relies on the creation, processing, and analysis of data. But at the beginning, we did not have a really good idea about where data produced was being located, stored, preserved, or how to access those data. This requires a considerable amount of work if you want to see this data and you don't have a rapid consult way to check for this. So the only way you can is go to the publications and see if they have some data statement or some link, and then go back to the datasets. So we thought about creating a catalog to track data assets and its relationship to other work, which is publications. So for this, we perform four main tasks in the analysis stage or requirements gathering stage. Analyze the types of research workflows within the Catalysis Hub. So the type of experiments scientists do, the type of data they collect, trying to find out what are their data management practices that each research tries to follow, and analyze the existing lists of publications, which is something that has been tracked since the creation of the Catalysis Hub, and look for the data repositories being used. The initial findings is that data management is already part of the workflow of the researchers. I mean, the researchers are aware of the importance of their data, of the value of their data. So they already incorporate some data management practices. But these data management practices vary because sometimes they abide by the institutional data policies. Sometimes they have to adapt to publisher data policies or to funding institutions data policies. So it's not like there is always a consistent need to store, manage, and publish this data. And as I said, the process for tracking publications is something that the Catalysis Hub via Corinne and Josie already established. So, and the last part was looking at the repositories. Where is the data residing? And we found out that there is a host, a large set of repositories being used, and data varies in size and types as well. So this can be specialized repositories or institutional data repositories, repositories provided by the editors of the journals, or even general purpose repositories like Fixture or Zenodo. So we have then two alternatives for the data. Is either create a new repository, yet another repository to store different data objects, control access, manage ownership, and provide access to these resources, or create a catalog to link data and publications and know the localization of the assets, describe the types of the data assets being stored, and index it, existing repositories. In the end, these two proposals are somewhat complementary. I mean, for repository platforms, there is already well-developed examples like Cordra or Sican, which you can basically deploy and configure to suit your needs. So that's for repositories. Is not really difficult to create them. The most the real work would be in saying what types of data objects are we storing, what are the metadata associated to these data objects. But these, as I said, these solutions come even with APIs, so you can exploit them programmatically. They do have security. They do have credential systems to manage access to resources. So they are very advanced, and it's not really a problem creating them. But the catalog is another thing, because the catalog, it has to have a special characteristics that respond to the needs of the community, which the Catalysis Hub research community. So they complement each other to some extent. So we had these considerations. They complement each other. The existing offering of repositories seems to be adequate for the current needs of researchers. I mean, they are spoiled for choice. So we decided to start with the catalog and leave the repository functionality in the pipeline for later, because with this repository, with this catalog, we can start showing many functionalities and ask the users about feedback very quickly without having to also deal with getting DOIs and storing data and granting access rights. So that's why we chose to start with the catalog. So this is the very simplified version of what we are doing. We take publications and data objects from repositories and publishers. We merge them into a database, and we present this data in a catalog. The data repository, as I said, could be another part of this architecture, but that would be for the future. So for maybe for storing data which is not stored elsewhere, which maybe there is no specialized repository for some type of data. So we can still discuss on when and how to implement this data repository, which would be maybe the next logical step. we are tracking different entities in this catalog: publications, researchers, data objects, the teams, research teams, and the institutions. And in this form, we already have many indicators that tells us the state of the Catalysis scope. So this is data from 2013 to 2021, and we can see many interesting data, like 34 different countries participating in research with us, having about 9,200 citations, which are constantly growing. I think by the end of the year, we should be almost getting to 10,000 citations from all the papers. And this is about 22 citations per paper. A number of objects and different institutions that collaborate with us are also being tracked. And we think of the design linking these entities is mainly focused, as you see, on indicators. So big numbers that highlight things we know and discover things we would like to know, maybe more details. And the sources are Crossref, the repositories, the publishers, and the pre-existing database of publications that the Catalysis Hub already was collecting. So we designed it with a dashboard style. So the dashboard style is something that provides you like the dashboard of a car that indicates the status of your trip very quickly. You can see the speed, you can see the amount of fuel you have left and things like that. So this dashboard concept is what we are using. It's very common in websites about data statistics, like the websites providing daily statistics on COVID or something, or other interesting successes. So that's why we have this design that lets you see tables and graphs to merge together with links to the publications. For instance, in this one, you can see the most recent publications, the accumulated growth of publications and the annual growth of publications, and the top publishers, top researchers by number of publications, top researchers which are not principal investigators, most cited researchers, and all this is updated in the database. This is the current address for the data infrastructure as it is, and you can see, yeah, so this is the same. So if you go to, for instance, to publications, you can go to indicators and you see even more graphs and things that tell you, explain more details about the publications. For instance, the most recent publications, so the latest from 2021, the most cited publications, the average publications per article, the average citations and growths, where are they published, who are the publishers of these publications, and the same for institutions and for institutions. For instance, you can focus on the darker are the ones which have more instances. For instance, 22 institutions in China collaborating with about 68 institutions in the United Kingdom. And you can zoom in a little. It's not very nice zoom function, but you can see small countries here, like which Switzerland with 5 collaborations, Belgium with 3, and Asia, which is also a big collaborator of the hub, apart from the States, Argentina. So we can see that the global presence of the CAT hub, and also other things like functionalities requested, like saying which are the research facilities or industry collaborators. So for instance, Catalytic Innovations, ASML, Honeywell, Johnson Matthey, all these important partners, which are not academic partners, but are really is interesting for us to see them. So this is the design, the basic design for the Catalysis data infrastructure as it stands now. And for us, this is a work in progress. That's why we call it a prototype. So the intention is to be able to iteratively add functionalities, refine the design, and then present users with a concrete example, so they can ask for more or tell us which is working, which doesn't work, and what can be done to improve it. So this gives us high visibility of the research outputs of the Catalysis hub. And we even have started creating a simple API for extracting bibliographic data by year and team. So if you are interested, I can give you the JSON endpoint and how you query, and you can get, for instance, all the papers for Catalysis design for 2020, and it will give you a list in the form of a JSON file with the authors, the title, the year of publication, and the journal or the venue where it was published. And then this, as I said, this is work in progress. This is not finished work, so we still have work to do. We've been talking to the STFC, in particular with Alejandra and Brian Matthews, Alejandra Gonzalez and Brian Matthews from the Scientific Computer Department. And they did some recommendations. So for instance, we will try to migrate, or when we do the final implementation, use the semantic web technologies like DCAT, the DCAT catalog, or the SPAR ontologies to describe data objects and publications, using XColleagues to record the relationships between data objects and publications, and even looking at other domain ontologies to describe chemical entities and processes. We also would like to automate management, so make it simply, even simpler to add new publications and data objects to the catalog, and implement the API for updates and corrections. And also implement other new features as requested by users. Oh, I think I went too fast. So this is about it. I would like to thank to all the researchers or the Catalysis Hub. We have collaborated in this. They have given me some feedback and also talked to me about their work in the research work, their management, data management practices. So I'm very thankful for all these people, and Corinne and Josie, which have been also my really valuable in helping me think of alternatives and new things to include in the prototype. So thank you, and if you have any questions, please let us know.
Thank you very much indeed, Abraham. Chris Mitchell.
Yes.
You've raised your
I'm
hand.
unmuted. Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Abraham. Very interesting. I think you've made a good start on all of this. And sort of the thing you'll be doing, to my mind, reflects quite a lot of the things that we're also doing as an industrial company as well, in terms of looking at our own internal data. thinking in the longer term, I mean, you've mentioned keyword search already, but in the long term, you know, I think one of the goals would be to look at data mining ultimately, so how to use the existing body of work to enhance future research. And one thing it works within one company, but I'm not sure how we would do it within the context of the hub and the different collaborating institutes. But how do you sort of, do the different institutes already use electronic lab notebooks for their research? And how would you think about integrating the output of those sorts of things into the sort of the information that other hub researchers could access?
Yes, I don't know if there is there are any partners using lab notebooks like electronic lab notebooks. It would be really interesting, I think, because it's part of the provenance of the data. It helps you track which devices were used in an experiment, when the experiment was carried, the types of reactives and components used in the experiments.
Yeah.
So, and I know I've seen some examples of these lab management systems, which provide the electronic lab books, which they have some type of APIs which can be used to extract metadata, like saying give the list of all the scientists that were working on the lab in this day and the types of experiments or the use of the equipment. So it's very it can be all exploited in some way. As I said, the repository just needs the metadata scheme to index it.
Yeah, indeed. And what I'm also conscious of is perhaps, you know, in terms of the research we do, not all of it ends up in publications. And if you actually ultimately want to do things like data mining and generating new concepts from you need to look at the data that isn't published as well, not just the data that's published. Because if you're looking for new ideas and new concepts to generate new ways of doing experiments, you need to look at all the data, not just the ones that's being published. So it's the data generation that's important. In some respects, the experiments that have failed and therefore don't get published could be equally important.
Yes, they are very informative, because then you have a way of something telling you what not to do. So that's also really.
I think Robert Schlergel referred to that in one of the town hall meetings at the earlier in this year, I think. So anyway, thank you very much. Anyway.
Yes.
I don't see any other hands or questions. Abraham, you said it's a pilot. Has it been rolled out yet, or are you still on beta testing?
It's kind of a beta. It's public. You can access it from anywhere. I think you have the link there, so anybody can access it.
Okay.
We are in talks with we're still waiting for Cardiff to give us the actual URL, which goes in place of this string of numbers, so that we can make it easier to remember. But it's open already for, especially because we want feedback from our community.
Yeah. Okay. So perhaps we could ask Corinne or Josie to send that link around to everyone in the hub to ask for feedback. Is that what you would like to do?
Yeah. That every time we present, we share the link and we tell them, please go and look at it, and if you can write to us if you like it or not, don't like it, especially, or what is best for you.
Great. Well, I don't see any more questions, so thank you very much indeed, Abraham, and we will move on.